All right, so on the count of three, we're going to say good morning. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Very
So-
nice. Or it could be evening where people are at.
Oh,
Yeah.
it could be
It's
good
evening where I
Yep.
am. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
All right. Good evening.
Yes, yeah, I got you. Well, listen,
Should we do a wave? Should we do RP1?
Nathan.
No.
We don't have enough people in the VR. If we had more people in VR, we'd do a
Oh,
full
my
wave and
goodness.
everything.
No,
So
wave,
weird.
but we can
We're
shout
women.
RP1.
All right, we could try it. I say we could try it. Let's see if this group. We're just trying to get everyone warmed up this morning.
Warm up.
So
yeah.
when we point over to this way, we have 3 areas. One in the middle and over here to this side. So if I point over here, you're going to say R. Everyone in the middle is going to say P. And then we're going to say 1 over here. Let's see if we can get going maybe 2 waves at the most, like Dodger Stadium or something, or whatever stadium you like. All right, so ready on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. R.
P.
One.
And that was pretty darn good. That was
Not bad.
awesome. All right, a little corny, but a lot of fun on a Monday morning. I just want to say beyond thank you. I mean, I see a lot of people that have been here for a long time and following us when we were just a company with scaling technology. And we have pivoted and come a long way to actually producing the standards of the open browser and the technologies needed to make that possible. And there's a lot of new faces here that don't know a lot about our story and know about this is far more important than RP1. What we're about to talk about is well beyond what RP1 is about. It's about an open ecosystem that exists with or without RP1. And so if you think about it, and I think a lot of you have been in VR and you've been in XR for a long time, you can imagine that, remember, you built for AltSpace and you built amazing spaces and shared them with the world. And when they decided to go down, you lost everything. There are people that built AR experiences using Eighth Wall, and they recently announced that they're no longer moving forward, and those experiences and tool sets won't work. And there's Fortune 500 companies that built really powerful XR proofs of concepts and things that they use in everyday business on the HoloLens. And when Microsoft decided to no longer support the HoloLens, everything they built for the HoloLens could not move forward because it was specific to the actual device. And I want to remind us, all of us together, we've enjoyed something that is the most powerful piece of software that has united the entire world, whether socially, business, anything imaginable. And that is called the World Wide Web. And the software was the browser that allowed us to get access to it. And when the browser was invented, before it was actually invented, we had walled garden companies like AOL and CompuServe and Prodigy, and their sole job as a company to get the most revenue was to build everything themselves and keep you inside their bubble. Not allow you to build tools for it, not allow you to do specific things, but you were stuck, and that was your only choice. And someone came along and built the very first web browser, which opened up what we call today the World Wide Web, where anyone can build tools, and those tools could be used to build websites. Billion-dollar companies were founded like WordPress, eventually Squarespace and Wix and Canva, and open marketplaces where anyone and everyone could build any tools, any assets, and help the entire ecosystem grow with no one company telling you what you can or cannot do on the open web. In fact, if you go to hospitals and airports, everything imaginable is built on web infrastructure. And so if you're like me and you've seen the XR industry be around for a long time, and we all are making statements on LinkedIn and on socials on the metaverse is dead, XR is still not moving at the pace it needs to, Meta's cut 30%. It's not because XR is not powerful. It's not because AR glasses will take over mobile devices at some point. It's because we have closed ecosystems that don't allow the world to contribute to an open spatial internet. And so could you imagine you have Meta's smart glasses and you're stuck using their AI instead of picking AI that you may trust better? What about being controlled by app stores that take the majority of your revenue and don't allow you to profit for things that you build? And more importantly, what about not being device agnostic, meaning that things should work on any device? Because when you build for the web, you don't have to worry about what computer, what mobile phone, what desktop does or does not work with the open web. It just works because it is an open ecosystem that has been embraced by the entire world. And so today we're at an inflection point where we have a lot of walled platforms. We have things that are not device agnostic, and we have ways that none of us can participate, which has to change. And so RP1 has produced, and it's funny, we started as a company, and Dean is here on the stage with me because he's my co-founder, and he has built absolutely some amazing technology. And sometimes you never know why people build technology. Sometimes you're obsessed with things. Dean was obsessed with ultra efficiency. He's a programmer like many of you out there, and he wants to build things the best way possible. He built a technology that no one in the world could figure out how to scale and use 1,000 times less compute. And as you know, people are stuck with a very small, finite amount of people in a snow globe. The idea of the metaverse is this unlimited land that's fully persistent. And if you read all the articles, everyone's like, well, that's decades away because we can only do maps that are small size. We can only put a small amount of people in those maps. So how do we build something that's fully persistent, fully contiguous, something that you can roam around the real world, whether you're wearing AR glasses and you need to seamlessly connect to anyone and any piece of software, or you're in virtual spaces and want to connect with people in the real world? These are the things that are needed for us to really unlock the power of not only XR technologies, but advance this community together. And so using some of the Dean's technologies, we realized, and building the demos to showcase it, we were actually building the construct of the very first 3D browser. And let's make sure we all understand, we are currently a browser in a browser. We are using the current web stack to make this all possible, to showcase the technologies, not only of scale, which if you look around the spatial audio, we can have over 100,000 concurrent users, and we can scale it to 1 billion users where we can all seamlessly connect. But the next important thing is that this is a showcase of an entirely persistent, unlimited map space. You are literally in a part of the ocean on a digital twin of the entire planet Earth, 1-to-1 scale. And everyone's going to be like, well, why do we need a map of all of planet Earth? Well, that map allows for the future of AR glasses to actually be realized. And I'll tell you why. You're going to put AR glasses on, connect to an open standard browser, and as you walk around, you'll be able to connect to services that are built by all the different companies, individuals, your house that you connect to with no installs whatsoever. No installs, just like the web. So imagine being able to connect to services built by you or you or you, and you can charge what you want for those services, and you instantly connect to it from any device, all in real time, fully device agnostic. And the tools needed to connect to these services, the tools needed to build these worlds, the tools needed can be built by all of you. It's not beholden on one company to build all the different pieces. RP1 becomes a service provider of the scale and the persistent map. And other companies can build scale and persistent maps as well. But today's inflection point is the ability to build your own metaverse server, which is equivalent to a web server. You could build your own spatial fabric, which is the equivalent to your own website. And you have the ability to attach it to our universal map system that provides services like spatial audio and the scale and the map system needed to bring all these pieces together. But that doesn't mean you need RP1. The current browser, the future browser, will be designed to connect directly to your spatial fabric without RP1. That means many companies can compete in this space in a fully open ecosystem. We just happen to be the first because we're sharing all the open standards needed to make this entire ecosystem come together. And so today we are launching, and I first want to say, before I get to the end, I actually want to thank our team. This has been a really hard and unbelievable journey. And, like I said, we started off with software, and just like Netflix was a DVD company, and they pivoted and realized they were much bigger than just delivering DVDs into your mailbox. We realized that we were actually building the open standards for the spatial internet. And to us, this is a really hard decision with a small team, because typically you have very, very large amounts of money needed to build open standards. And we collectively as founders decided that this was much more important than RP1, the technologies that Dean built, but it's really the ability to build an open ecosystem that can launch the entire spatial internet. And so to us, we are extremely excited about this day. And this day is the first day that you can build your own metaverse server and spatial fabric and attach it.
Would you please mute your mic if you are speaking?
Yeah, thank you for that. And Shubham, if you don't mind, can you just back up just a little bit if you don't mind?
Sure,
If you just so kind.
Yeah,
Perfect.
thank
Oh,
you
you're
so
so
much.
kind. Thank you so much. And so today is actually the day, and we've worked really, really hard to get to this point. And I just want to thank our team. We have a handful of programmers. We have head of marketing, David. We have David Cernicke. We have Jim Lafferty. We have Junior Bustamante. We have obviously Dean Abramson, and we have Yinch, who's over in the UK, and a handful of consultants that have really stepped up to help us and to get to this point. And so imagine we pulled this off with less than 10 people, something that Meta, Apple, Microsoft can't do. And instead of building a competing closed company and winning the idea of the metaverse, we knew it had to be open. And we're going to be giving away many technologies all come to fruition. And so today, I want to introduce you to Dean. Dean, like I said earlier, is our co-founder. He is the man behind the technologies of the scale and the fabric and understanding how to architect all these components. And I want to invite him to share how do we actually build a metaverse server, what is new on our website, what are and eventually we're going to open up to full Q&A so anyone can ask any question imaginable. And if you want to stick around, I'm happy to take people on tours to help understand a lot more. So I'm going to hand it over to Dean. Dean, if you can walk us through what is like building a metaverse server versus a web server and building a spatial fabric and what that means to everyone in the audience.
Sure. Thanks for that. We have, while you guys were all funneling into this presentation here and this launch party that we're having, we actually turned on our dev center, which is now live, and you can go in there and sign up to become a developer, which is the first step in plugging in your content into RP1. Now, I want to reiterate that you are not actually technically developing for RP1. You're really developing for the open metaverse, but we're giving you the ability to plug your content that you create on your own servers and plug it into what we call an attachment point here in RP1. And I want to give kudos to Dave Cernicke and Junior Bustamante, who have made this super easy and free for all you guys to be able to host it. All you do is you come in, you sign up as a developer. There's instructions on how to set up your own metaverse server. If you follow them, I think it takes like 15, 20, 30 minutes. There's a hosting company out there that we've programmed everything for called Railway. You don't have to do it on Railway, but it's the easiest and cheapest way to do it. Follow the steps. Everything is set up for you. The software will be brought over, installed on your computer. A demo spatial fabric will be set up for you, and then you can plug in the URL to your fabric into our developer center, and that will assign you a location either here on Earth, which is designed for you to have a digital twin of the properties that you own here on Earth, so your businesses and your residences. And we've also launched a new planet. If you were to go up, you will find yourself in our solar system, but our nearest solar system is Alpha Centauri. We've located two imaginary planets out there. One imaginary planet called Corona and its big moon called Symmetra that we've thrown up there, and you can put anything you want on either Corona or Symmetra. So
wait, Dean, you're telling me, so we got all of planet Earth. So all of you, if you own your actual space in planet Earth, you immediately can have access to your digital twin in our map system. But if you don't want to build on planet Earth and you want to build anything fictitiously possible, where would that be again?
That would be on our planet's Corona or planet Corona and its moon Symmetra. And we've made it interesting. We're going to be building out those planets more. We're going to enable you to set up communities where you can plan your own cities, and different people can create different portions of it. You can all plug into a mapped area and share the space, and you can walk from building to building and from park to anything that you guys want to build, you can put up there without any restrictions.
And so what Dean just described, which is absolutely crazy, and this is for a first time, you literally can go straight up into the sky, out into space, and go to Symmetra. You can go to our moon or Mars or go anywhere you want, and you're never moving from one snow globe to another. You're actually in a completely persistent map system that connects you to all spatial fabrics built by everyone in the world. And so if you think about it, with the AR glass example that I had with you, imagine you're walking in the real world and I walk near Walmart. Walmart is going to actually own their XYZ coordinate space on planet Earth, all the locations that they own. And they will be able to build not only a digital twin of those locations, but they will actually be able to build eventually, and I'll get to this a little bit later, real-time services, either that they build and program or they have third-party companies that build for them, that you can interact, that are anchored, and people will connect to that immediately. So if I'm walking near Air Glass, I go to Walmart, I will connect to a piece of AI that greets me and helps me find the toilet paper. Or if I'm an employee, it may connect me to software that helps me move boxes in the warehouse, or help me fold shirts better, or make sure that I have a checklist in the bathroom that I follow and clean in the bathroom. These are going to help guide the entire future of how we interact in businesses and social places all over planet Earth. But keep going, Dean.
Yeah, so I do want to I want to just mention that it might not seem like a really big deal when you see what you can plug into RP1 right now. But as a programmer, you're going to feel the difference of having put your own content on your own server, plugging it into RP1, and then having it just appear, and that you can circumnavigate the globe and run into it and find it. It's the difference between making a post on like a Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, where you're really using someone else's tools to put what your content you're creating, using their tools into their platform. It's very, very different. And the moment that you start building on your own server and having it show up in the world, and keep in mind, when it shows up in RP1, we're just a map for helping locate stuff around the world. You don't have to use RP1 in the future. Browsers will be able to point directly to your fabric or to other people's fabric to find your fabric and not involve RP1 at all. We're still talking about open technology. So even though it's fairly simplistic, and when you first get going and you plug in your first fabric into RP1, you're going to feel the difference, and it's going to be like a wow moment. Like, I just did something completely different that's never been done before. And my main focus between now and say AWE, which is 6 months from now, is to take the relatively rudimentary tools that we're giving you today and having the open community help improve those tools to a point where virtually anyone can actually easily go online, create their own spatial fabric, host their own spatial fabric, and create what they want, possibly with AI tools. I doubt that's going to happen in 6 months, but a year from now, you might be able to pull an inception moment and stand in the middle of the street and say, I want a building here, and an AI agent will create a building. And you're like, no, 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 I want a glass building. And then you want, oh, I want it taller, or I want a whole row of buildings. And that's coming down the road, and we don't have to build it. That's the best news of all, is you guys don't have to wait for us to build it. From this point forward, anyone in the world can build these tools. They will plug into our world, RP1, or any world reachable by the browser very soon. So this is really a big inflection point. And I also want to reiterate how big this world is. You know, Earth is really big. This is a 1-to-1 scale of Earth. We've got some 18 billion acres of land that are inhabitable here on Earth. You can fly up to the sky, and if you were to go to the edge of our solar system, I've never done it before, but I think it might take you about 15 minutes on full speed. Corona and Symmetra are in a galaxy that's 4 light years away from here. So I don't know how long it would take you, but you could, if you hold down both triggers, you could fly out there directly, or you can teleport. It's a lot quicker to teleport. But yeah, I mean, it's that big. And in fact, that's a microscopic amount of how big it really is. Our whole world spans, we are actually standing about 100,000 light years from the center of our galaxy, which is, I think, about 1,000,000 light years from the center of the universe. That's how big RP1 is. So we got a lot of space. We got a lot of room for people to plug in, lots of imaginary stuff.
Yeah.
So this is really getting started.
And the reason why, I like to, we know it's important, but we met with a lot of Fortune 2000 companies. And this is important for a lot of the developers that are out here, because I'm assuming there's a lot of developers and people are very interested in programming and building things for the open spatial internet. And all the companies, there was a unanimous theme on every company we met with. And that theme was they can't move forward with their XR initiatives without building on their own servers. They need to be able to securitize their servers. Their data needs to be on their own servers, just like their web infrastructure. It is a non-negotiable to move forward. So they're only in proof of concept modes and they can't move forward, whether it's running their factories or their printing presses or their oil rigs or universities or anything imaginable. The non-negotiable is they have to own their data. They can't put it inside of a walled garden platform. And today, that is possible. You can now build your own server in your own data warehouse, your backyard, doesn't matter where the servers exist. Build your spatial fabric. And just like building a web server and making sure that Chrome, when someone types in your website, can find your your content and display it, RP1 helps display that content for anyone in the world in real time. And so it's a really, really big deal, I believe, for the XR industry, because now companies can actually start building towards the open spatial internet. Airports can start thinking about how someone can walk into an airport and have a guide easily help you find your baggage claim or find your gates, or on walking to the gates, offer you a burger they can order for you immediately. And as you walk by the burger place, it's ready. It helps you navigate going into hotels or hospitals where they'll have their own 3D services and things that'll help them navigate the patient in front of them and making sure, oops, don't give them the wrong pill. Or it gives all these services that help you interact with these spaces in a way that 2D websites can't deliver. And so now we can actually start that process where you can actually start building on your own servers. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And
I want to say that when you build on Earth and you build your spatial fabric, your digital twin of your home or your office, these are early days. I get it. But as you plug into your location, anyone wearing a pair of AR glasses who walks into your space running a standard open browser will have access to your content. So don't think about this as just filling in RP1 with a bunch of virtual world fun game, fictitious virtual stuff. This is a bridge between both AR and VR. So we are really populating we're starting to populate the actual Earth. So as, say, LAX Airport starts to build out their space in virtual reality, it is simultaneously accessible in augmented reality for anyone walking through there with a pair of glasses in the future.
So let me give you an example of what Dean just said. So imagine, I know there's a couple of universities out here which we're very excited to work with, but you will be able to build a digital twin, one-to-one scale of your entire university, and all of that data, all the assets, the entire information will be sitting on the university servers. That's number one. And so that means from any device, anyone will be able to go to that exact location and be able to traverse that digital twin. And if you're in the real world, you will be able to, as soon as you go near that XYZ coordinate space, you will connect to that space that is owned by that university and instantly connect to the services that they provide. So imagine a classroom where you have real people sitting with AR glasses, and I'm far, far away from that university. I will be able to join them inside that classroom. And then any services, third-party service, we'll get to services in a second, that are built by that university, everyone, whether you're in the real world or remote, will be able to connect to those same services and see them persistently in real time. And we have examples of that behind you and over here, which I'll tell you at the end. And so we have examples of real-time services that you can instantly connect to that could be anything from payments to AI to tools to anything that you want to build, chess games, anything imaginable that is a real-time piece of software that you can own and run on your own servers. So before we get to Q&A, everyone's probably, hopefully you guys are really excited about what we're launching. Again, it's really less about RP1, but about really launching the first open standards and open ecosystem for the spatial internet. And the important thing is I've been talking about these things called services. And I think some of you know what they are, and some may be like, well, what are these things called services? And we believe, and I think there's a lot of visionaries and people in the industry that understand this to be true, the future of the internet is going to be hundreds of millions of real-time services. Real-time services are literally a piece of software that are built by anyone or any company that you're going to connect to. And these pieces of software, the challenge that we have today, because everyone's probably, I'm sure that one of the biggest questions we get all today, why not use the current web stack? And although we're showcasing a majority of the technologies, we are pushing the limits of WebXR. And what's missing is that the current web stack, which includes iframes and DOM, do not enable real-time services to coexist with each other. And what I mean by that is, if I'm walking around in AR glasses, there may be lots of services that I interact with, whether I'm walking to Walmart, or as soon as I walk away, I walk into Chick-fil-A, or I go into my house and things I connect to. These are all different pieces of software and AI, or dimmer switches for my lights, or TV, or anything. These are going to be real-time services that are owned by companies all over the world. And how do you connect to them in real time and have them coexist in the same scene graph? And the current web stack is not designed to make that possible. In fact, it's designed to not let that be possible. And so right now, you're not going to be able to build your own services and attach them, because we're still a prototype using WebXR and using some of the web stack. But the very next big step for RP1 and the open standards is that we need to build a native browser. And a native browser is a fancy term for a native browser is a fancy term for something you install, so like Chrome or Safari. And so those are the things that are going to be needed for us to be able to install, so we get access to the local resources, and then you will be able to build any service, and it'll be able to interact with the open spatial internet. And so that is the next big step for our company. And we can't announce it today, but very soon we're going to be announcing being a part of a standards organization to help bring the native browser, start actually architecting it from the ground up, using a lot of the technologies and vision and architectural plans from this demo, but in a native browser form. And that will truly unlock everything about the spatial internet that we've all dreamed about. And so this is an inflection point where you can start spatial fabrics. You start building your own metaverse server. You could start building companies and content that help other people build their metaverse servers and spatial content. You could start building tools for people to build their spatial content. We have someone in the audience that is actually building a convert scene graphs from Unity for the open internet. These are all the things that are going to be built by everyone not named RP1. Because if we were a closed system, you would have to wait for us to build it all. And that's not what an open ecosystem needs. It needs the ability for everyone to participate at any level that they're interested in. And you don't need to come to RP1 and say, can we do this, please, or thing, but we can assist on how. Actually, can we pause 1 second? Everyone just look right over there and see the coolest sunset in the world.
In the virtual.
You can see the stars more. It's actually darkened and everything. It's really neat. And it's going to follow eventually the 24/7 light to day time frames.
Cool.
Pretty neat. All right. It's always like the real sunset. Like, wow, that's an amazing sunset. All right, back to what we're doing. Sorry. So this is an opportunity for everyone to get involved. We do have our Discord. We have channels where you can post questions about building your metaverse server. So if you run into issues or questions, or you want to post how-tos or do whatever you want, there's a space there. There's a space for building and attaching your spatial fabric. There's a space there for reporting bugs. And I want to remind you, please remind you, because a lot of people, they get excited, they think we've launched a product, they want it perfect. But I want to remind you, we are a very, very small team. We don't have a 1,000-person QA department. Well, I'm sure Meta no longer has 1,000. It's probably down, what is 30% down to 700 QA department. But they have a lot of people to make sure things are as close to perfect. So understand, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be fine-tuning and continuing to make things better. So I guarantee you will find mistakes. You will find some bugs. If you can assist us, that'd be amazing. There is an opportunity, a couple things. Again, you can start building tools, you can start building how-to videos and tell the world this is all possible. You can also, if you want, volunteer to help RP1. We are looking for people that want to help with space, with a lot of different bugs and things that we need to fix. And the more people we can have, the faster we can go. The second thing is, when we're very soon going to be building the native browser. And so if you are a high-level programmer, really care about contributing to the open spatial internet and want to build the construct of how a real native 3D browser will work, there's an opportunity for you to raise your hand and say that you'd like to join and bring some of your skill sets. It would be volunteer. At some point, there may be potential in pay, depending on the donations and things that we'll get on the native browser side. But I wanted to invite anyone that has the prowess and the ability, whether it's graphics, whether it's VPS systems, whether it's just understanding how to connect spatial fabrics, different gaming engines. And just so you know, because this will make this clear, RP1 today is two things. We are the browser and we are a universal spatial fabric that provides services. When the native browser is built, the native browser will now connect to RP1 spatial fabric and any other person's spatial fabric. And so you have a choice to run your own spatial fabric and connect directly with the browser, or the browser, you can choose to use RP1 for the browser to connect to, so you get all the services, which is the scale, the audio, the 6DoF, the pieces that make it easy and very, very cheap for people to traverse your own spatial fabric. And so that will be your choice because it is an open ecosystem. And anyone, once the native browser is built, could build their version of the native browser, just like we have Chrome and Safari and Firefox and Edge. It'll be a complete open ecosystem where eventually there'll be many browsers that are built. And this will guarantee that any tools you build, any spatial fabric you build, any features, services will work no matter what for the history and the rest of the entire spatial internet. And this is the inflection point that I believe the XR community needs, the ability where we can all build it together and not wait for any one company to tell us what it's going to look like and what tools we're forced to use. So I want to thank you so much for this time. I want to open this up to QA. You have the guy that invented it. I believe I know a lot as well. We have a handful of other people that are with the RP1 team in case we don't. But please, this is an open Q&A. Just raise your hand if you're in VR. I'll call on you. If you're not, just say, I have a question, and I'll try to get everyone in order as best possible. But I would like you guys to be able to ask whatever you want. We are a fully open book on anything you can imagine. And we're going to hold regular get-togethers, not only in Discord, but also in World, so that you can always come here, interact with us, ask us questions, and we can help your journey with helping provide all the different standards needed for this all to come together. So any questions, please just raise your hand if you're in VR. If you're not, just say, I have a question. I'm happy to point at you. Yes. Go for it.
What does RP1 mean? Like, what does it stand for?
You know, that is a really good question. We get it all the time. It could mean, it's just RP1. I mean, I think if you Google, RP1 can mean lots of things to different people. You know, I think it's really just three kind of characters
when we were creating
what we are.
When we were creating the company, you know, every company has to pick a name, and I've been involved in companies. It took 6 months for 4 people to agree on a name. We threw out RP1. We were able to get a 3-letter domain name pretty cheaply, relatively speaking. Everyone agreed on it immediately. The logo popped out instantly, and RP1 it is. And if you do Google RP1, you'll find a couple examples, something in genetics and something in rocket fuel, but it doesn't mean anything in particular.
It means what it means
about
to
Reality
you.
Prime?
Oh, it could be that. Yeah, it could be that.
Ready Player One.
It's really what it means to you. That's not a bad one. That's a good one.
That was what everybody thought.
All right. Any other questions? Great questions. Yeah. Where is that coming from? I hear you.
Aloha, Player Ones. Here we are.
Yeah, go for it.
Allows me to move forward. How do I move back in the plane?
So it's WASD. So S would be back. S. Yeah, it's WASD. So W goes forward, S goes backwards, A goes left, and ASD, D goes right.
If you open your menu, your main menu button, by clicking on it or pressing M, is it M or X? There's a yellow question mark with the circle. Click on that,
how to move around.
And that's got all of your controls for how to move and how to accelerate, because if you go into space, you're not going to get very far if you don't have your double turbos on. So
Zaus Princess from Amsterdam. I see you, and I see your hand waving.
Hey!
What question do you have?
So
Go for
good
it.
to see you at home in
Likewise.
Bavaria, actually. So
nice.
First of all, thanks so much for this event, and greetings to everybody at United XR. But everybody who couldn't make it is like so cool to be here with so many people. And kudos. Bravo to how well RP1 already works. And now and also thank you and kudos for taking up the marathon of metaverse development. So
Oh, thank you so much.
thanks so much for keeping it alive and building it.
Yes.
And yeah, my first question would be like now that I heard that we can eventually build here,
No, you could
what
do that
would
today. You could do that
what
today.
what would be, and I also saw at the accounts some like developer section. So what would be a good way to start? Could I just pick
Yes.
my place in Munich, Schwabing here, or?
Oh, I love it. So I'll give a little bit and then I'll hand over to Dean to finish it up. So basically, you can go to our website and we have RP1.com, which is an informational website and is a gateway to get in. Segue, when you get your own space, you will get your own URL. And if someone clicks that URL, they don't go to RP1 Home. They're going to go directly to a login page. And so if you already have a connection to the browser or you want to go in as a guest, you can go directly to your site. So you don't go through a centralized system. But the purpose would be is you can go into rp1.com, you can go to the developer center and actually click to the developer center, which is at dev.rp1.com. And you will be able to actually start creating an account, which is different than you have a user account. And you can use that user account at the dev center to actually build a developer account, which then will give you access to how to build a metaverse server, create a spatial fabric, and actually attach your spatial fabric to RP1's map system. And like Dean said earlier, you'll have two choices. It's very clear that's four or five easy steps where you literally will see, do you want to build on planet Earth? There's going to be a disclaimer that you have to own that land in the real world. And we're taking, it's an honor system now. And down the road, if there is a conflict, we'll help navigate that. Or if you want to build something that has nothing to do with planet Earth, you can build that on two planets that you've got, a planet and a moon that you can select that's outside of our solar system. So that's the simple part. Is there anything you want to add to that, Dean?
Yeah, the good news is there's not a lot to do in the developer center yet. So the thing that's primarily there, the one main thing to do is what it's all focused about. So when you become a developer, it'll show you step by step. Okay, first thing you have to do is name and identify your own company. That's for your own benefit to group your own projects under. And then once you've created your company, it'll say, all right, ready to set up your fabric. And then it'll give you the instructions step by step on how to set up a metaverse server on Railway. Later on in the week, or certainly within the next week or two, you will have full instructions on how to do it completely on your own from scratch. Once you've got your metaverse set up, then the next step will be to fill in the blanks for the attachment. And honestly, it should, in well under half an hour, you should be able to plug right in, and then you can then begin to change and modify your own server, and those changes will be reflected on Earth.
Just like a website.
It's pretty easy. I will say that Earth itself is a big attachment point to the celestial map that RP1 maintains. Inside of Earth, we then maintain attachment points to your projects. I will tell you, don't do it now, but after we're done talking, if you just walk that way, go through the screen, you'll see the sample attachment point. I've set one up about 200 meters in that direction, and you'll see the sample attachment point that we give you to download that you'll initially plug in. But you can remove our attachment point or create your own from scratch. I'm sorry, our fabric map that we built. You can create your own from scratch, point to that one, and then whatever content you put on there, whether it's a building that looks like the high rises or the pavilions. We've had some other people. Sean and I just discovered this morning a building that we didn't even know about, which is my favorite building here in the site right now. That was probably put in by
unbelievable.
It's pretty damn cool. So you can start to bring in your own stuff, and you just follow the steps. Hopefully, will take less than half an hour. If you have any problem, hop on Discord. We're going to have people there that will help you with metaverse server setup, with fabric content management, with getting your attachment point in, and you can pick a point here on Earth down to the centimeter. Literally, you can pick a latitude, longitude that will place you literally to the centimeter on any spot here on the planet. Well, not quite any spot, but any spot on land. And then if you want to pick Corona or Symmetra, you'll be transported and located all the way out on space. And one more thing is, you can have your own domain name if you have your own like .com. Let's call it, abc.com. You can take abc.com/something and then create a a hyperlink based on that will just forward you to the URL that we give you. So we're going to give you a URL that positions you on a planet or on a moon by latitude longitude. It's quite a long string. That might not be the string that you want to give out. But if you said rp1.abc.com and that forwards to that URL, then that's the URL that you would give out to all your people. And you can put it on your business cards or your virtual business cards or whatever. And people can go to, rp1.abc.com and bam, they would then show up directly at your property.
And you can have hundreds or thousands of people on your spatial fabric. There's no more limiting to 20 people. You can have conferences. If you want to have a conference with 10,000 people, like the one United XR in Brussels, they can build a digital twin of that entire conference, have a one-to-one scale, and have 10,000 people roam around, and you would greet them as if you were just walking around Times Square. There's no more limitation on you can't be in the instance I'm in. We're all fully connected to each other at any location. But keep going, Dean.
Yeah.
And
if you build your own space, wait.
How about the proof of ownership? Like what happens if I live in a rental apartment, or can everybody now jump onto reserving Times Square and Black Rock City?
Nope.
Well, yes, there's nothing to stop you from doing that, but eventually there will be. And we're a very small company. These are early days. We're on the honor system, but everyone here has been very, very quiet and nice, and that's awesome. And we're going to also be on the honor system that everyone's going to pick their own properties. At some point, as we grow and as more people come online, if someone says, yeah, I own the Louvre or I own the Eiffel Tower or Times Square, we're going to start cracking down on that. Right now, it's on the honor system, and that's going to be okay. If we have a conflict, we can always go in there and move stuff around.
Yeah,
but,
and we'll eventually, as we grow, we will have things in place, whether it's AI or a department that helps confirm your identity and your ownership in the real world. And so if someone were to take ownership of a place they don't own, they will be disconnected from that site, and the real owners will be able to then attach their fabrics. But at some point, we will have tools in place that will help navigate and challenge that. It's just we're very small, so we have to really go by the honor system right now. And I think it's pretty easy to know, and people will report things that, oh my God, someone put something crazy at a location that we know for 100% that they don't own. It's not hard for us to easily disconnect that fabric.
Yeah. And we'll give you as much space as you want. If you wanted to build your own area like this pavilion and you want to build no problem. You can build that up. And then we have a feature called Spaces. Sorry, it's called Spaces that allows you to schedule Zoom-like meetings and hand out links to people. And we will pretty soon allow you to create the meeting link to point directly to your own space. So if you want to create this very cool office building, or you want to people meet in your living room, it's fine. Your spaces or meeting location can be set to your office pretty soon. We can't do it quite yet, but we will be able to do that. I was going to make one more point. I forgot what it was, but I'm sure we'll come up to it.
All right. Anyone else? Phil, any questions? Anything magical? Will, go for it.
Do you imagine like creating like a globe map system that we can open up and then like zoom in on and then take a look at and see like
you'll be actually be able to, if you want, after this, you can fly straight up and you're going to see Earth rotating, and you're going to be able to go down to any part of Earth, and literally you'll see yourself coming. If you went to there and you came back down to this spot on Earth, we would actually see you coming down. So you'll see an image of Earth. Eventually, as we get more time and resources, there'll be better imagery as you get from solar system to planet to continent and country, all the way down to city and state, all the way down to your stapler in your house. And so a lot of that content's going to be built by the real world. But Dean, go for it and add to it.
I think I got I think you were asking a slightly different question. I got a more exciting answer for you. This is really exciting for me. I'll tell you why. In the early days of the internet, everyone was registered their URL, and a company called Yahoo created a directory. Literally, you would go to Yahoo, you would put in your URL, and you describe your website, and they would sort it into the equivalent of what would be like a Yellow Pages, if you all remember what a Yellow Pages is. Eventually, another company came along and said, a company called Google, said, you know what, we have a better way to search. After, I did searching for a while, but Google said, we have a better way to search. And they're like, we got this. And then Google became the de facto search engine. At some point in the future, we hope some company will look at the open map data, because all of our map, our entire Earth map, we have an Earth map viewer. You can actually view everything. I mean, literally, it starts at the continents and it works their way down to the countries, the states, the counties, the cities, all the way down to the house level. Some company, we hope, like a Google type company or your company, will start to scan the known metaverse, which includes everything that's going on our planet, plus all the imaginary stuff going on in Disney's planets and Jurassic World's planets. Someone will just scan all of the content in the metaverse, because we don't have to do this, and they will build exactly what you just described. You will be able to like call up a map in front of you, kind of like Hunger Games, where they had like a map of the area, and you'll be able to enlarge it and zoom in like they do in Westworld, for example. But we don't have to program that. Anyone here could take on that role and become the next Google search engine of the metaverse and provide that search capability, which is, I think, the answer that you were looking for. And the reason I'm so excited about it is because I don't have to program it. It's one more feature that I don't have to do anymore. Now that we've made it open, I don't have to build features anymore. Well, I got a couple of things I got to do to improve our backend server, but the ability to search the metaverse is now going to be open to some other company to solve and improve on. And that's the one thing I was going to say is when you attach your spatial fabric, you get to name your venue. So is anyone from Starbucks here? No? Okay. So if you were Starbucks and you put in 40,000 Starbucks, they would all be named Starbucks. Every venue that they create, every attachment point would all be named Starbucks. But the moment you put it in, our search engine currently will immediately recognize it and search for it, but we search by distance. So no matter where you are, if you search for Starbucks, we're going to find all the Starbucks that are closest to you. So if you're the only, let's say your venue, we have a Summer Jams concert area that's over there. If you type in Summer Jams, you'd find it. So the moment you attach your fabric, late last night or early this morning, I attached what we call Pavilion South over there. The moment I did that, if you go into the search box, you type in PAVIL, Pavilion South will show up. Bam, you can go there now. So that searching ability will be provided exactly like you describe, or in ways that we can't even imagine right now, will be provided by some very, very, very wealthy company in the future, because they're going to get Googleified. If you do that, if any company is able to scan the metaverse and build an effective search engine for it, that's going to be worth some bank. That'll be nice. Was that the answer you were hoping for?
Yeah, that was a pretty good answer to what I was. But just one more thing, I saw like people with yellow text all the way on that side. Are they AI?
Yeah, we have a number of bots just so that you can experience, because right now everyone's so quiet. And again, thank you so much for being quiet and polite here. But one of the really cool things about this experience that we've created, the ability to scale, we've got 1,000 bots or so running over at the plaza. And if you want to experience what it's like to be in a group with 1,000 people walking around, these are independent bots. They're running off of a different server. So they're not programmed into RP1. They are bots that are running separately on servers. They log in just like you logged in. They use all the same protocols that everyone here is using. From the server's perspective, it cannot tell the difference between the bots and you all, except for the difference is bots are always talking and always walking. So when you go over there, you're going to hear thousands of voices all around you, and know that it's not background noise. It is merely just the server mixing all of that data specifically for you in the direction that you're listening. And oddly enough, right now the server is busy mixing 1,000 bot soundtracks for 1,000 different bots, all while it's doing our talk right here. And so it can handle way more than you can imagine of the people who are standing here. This is nothing. This doesn't even register on our servers.
And talk about maps. We have a group that's building out a 1-to-1 scale of the Star Wars galaxy. We're also going to bring in a copy of Elysium like spaceship, where you can actually build in Elysium in space and have your own land. So if you want to be on a planet, you want to be on Earth, or you eventually want to be on a space ship or system, you will have those capabilities, and that's just the start. This is,
if you're not familiar, if you're not familiar, Elysium is from a movie. It's a 60-kilometer rotating cylindrical space station, and it rotates to provide its gravity, and everything faces inward. And so you'll be able, just like you can build on Symmetra and Corona, you'll be able to choose Elysium. I don't know if we can legally call it Elysium, but it's Elysium-like, and you'll be able to build and put your your creations onto that planet, and we'll either locate it above Earth or out in space somewhere.
And I think we're forgetting how easy this is going to be for the people that you want to share the content with, because like the web is at one click and you're instantly there. If I build something in Roblox and none of you have been in Roblox before, you guys would all have to download and install Roblox, create an account, create an avatar, learn the UX, and learn how to even find my location just to share my information. And I'm limited on the number of users and I'm stuck in a box. In RP1, you're building as big or small of a place with no limitation. You're not limited on the number of users. And someone now can click a simple link and instantly go to that space and interact with what you want them to do or play in those spaces. And so to me, that is powerful. Removing the friction of XR is going to allow the masses to join in these experiences, whether in AR and VR. And that's the importance of the open standard browser. The browser is going to bring us together in a way, the same way when it was easy for my grandmother or someone young to open up Chrome and seamlessly find any website, and they instantly had access to hundreds of millions of different locations. We need to make it that easy, and that's what the browser does. Biggie, Will, do you have another question, or you're all set?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I just want to make the final comment. Like, it's not really just like Earth. It's really like No Man's Sky, where like the universe is like the limit, right? You can
but
just
No Man's
expand
Sky,
as much as you want.
but No Man's Sky is procedurally drawn as you go. This is actually persistent, right? So this is actually the truly only persistent map that exists in the world, and we actually figured out how to render an unlimited persistent map, because there are technical challenges to making that possible, and we've actually solved that. And when I say we, actually the gentleman to my left, to your right, is actually the one who solved it. And so it's really, really neat to solve some of the hardest problems in the world to make this type of thing possible. Biggie, go for it.
First off, congratulations, guys.
Oh, thank you so much.
I know how hard you guys have been working on this for the last years.
Really appreciate that.
My question, obviously, I'm going to get a little more nitty gritty. What actual language is everything set up in to plug into your guys' system?
So when you're running your own server, we are shipping right now code that lets you install a database that uses either MySQL or SQL Server. You could also, at some point, we don't have to build it. Someone else here says, "I got this." I will take on the task of using something like CouchDB that allows you to run a database based strictly off of a JSON file, or any other type of software can be built that will allow you to store and transmit your map. So that's the storage of your Fabric content. Above that, we've got a Node.js service that is running that we ship. Node.js is how you connect using Socket.io. Node.js will translate the conversation between our running client, or RP1, the client that you're running the browser right now, and the database that will exchange the information. And so the protocol that we use to exchange that is another protocol we invented called MVMF. That allows the service to talk to the client without the client having to understand how that communication is happening. That is what will enable us to do services as a whole. So we're working with some people who are connected to some really, really high-end standards bodies, and we're working to make MVMF a global, worldwide open standard soon enough. So these things, like you don't have to use Node.js. Right now, that's all we use, but you could build a service that has a C# front end, or a Java, communication. And MVMF allows you to talk not just with Socket.io, but when we're having this conversation right now, all the information that we're exchanging is being done on a binary protocol. Again, MVMF allows you to talk any protocol you want. The application doesn't have any idea how that's actually transmitting. So I think the answer to the question is basically we have a database layer right now, which is MySQL or SQL Server. On top of that, we have Node.js, which is, in front of that. We have MVMF, which is doing the translations between that and the client-side software. And that's pretty much it. The client that we're using right now is all JavaScript, but when we build a native client, that client, the native browser will be built in most likely C++ and use either JavaScript or WASM as the programming language of the metaverse.
So then if I say I download your guys your SDK, I set up a metaverse basically, and then connect it to your guys' protocol. Then who's responsible for all the traffic? Am I still responsible for all the bandwidth that I'm using, or how does that
You would be,
work?
yeah, just like the World Wide Web, you would be responsible for the bandwidth that you're using for people who are contacting your server. So that's the good and the bad, right? If we were hosting everything and everything were content on our site, then we're a closed ecosystem and you run the risk of us going out of business or changing our policies or limiting your access or waiting for us to build tools. In an open metaverse, if you're going to build a really small little site, then it's easy. You just go get free hosting at some company or pay $5 a month. But when you turn into Amazon, $5 a month hosting won't cut it anymore. And now you have 10,000 employees who are managing your website and you got to handle your content. We will have solutions over time that will improve that. Believe it or not, you may not know this, but many of you are probably getting ripped off beyond comprehension. So Amazon sells 1 terabit of traffic for 1 gigabit of traffic for $16,000 a month. The actual cost of them is $40 a month. Okay, so that's a 400-time markup on what they're charging you. So traffic really isn't that expensive if you know where to get it. Now, not everyone can just go set up a hosting where paying $40 a month for traffic, but we will have solutions in the foreseeable future where anyone who's got a metaverse server is doing substantial amount of traffic will be paying much closer to the $40 a month than the $16,000 a month that you can get out there.
And what Dean just described, we're actually going to have lots of people, individuals, small and big companies that eventually will actually offer the hosting services where they have solved the expense, and then they'll provide the server to you and have a fraction of what it would be with like an AWS. And then therefore you can actually, just like someone will host your website, someone actually can do all the hosting for you. So you don't have to build a metaverse server. You just need to build your spatial fabric and put it on that server and then attach it to RP1. And so we actually had a couple people reach out to us, and I believe there'll be lots more that'll eventually start opening these services. And again, this is an opportunity. If you could look back to early web and just like go back into the future, no pun on the movie, and know that WordPress was going to become a billion-dollar company where you could just build tools for this thing that people didn't know really the importance of. There is so many opportunities today going forward for people to build systems, tools, everything imaginable to make it easy for every individual company to build a spatial fabric. And so again, we're jump starting or priming the pump, as we say, the ecosystem, because this has never been done before. I mean, the way the web started was very different than the way we're getting it started. And a lot of people are still figuring out, they see this, space, they're like, all right, this is like another Roblox or Spatial or Horizons or this. But when they understand the underlying technologies on how this all comes together, they're truly realizing how important of a project this is and the standards that we're bringing to the table. So
I want to reiterate why this is so different from Roblox or Fortnite or Horizons. Is that if you set up a spatial fabric at your house right now, you can, I'd say within about a year, you'll be able to like do this with your hand. You'll grab something and you'll stretch it out and you'll create a TV set and you can put the TV set on your wall. You can make it 200 inches, you can make it 500 inches, and you can have as many of them as you want within your house. And if you've got a Quest 3 or an Apple Vision Pro, let's say, and you walk around your house in pass-through mode, you'll see all those TVs there. And anyone who comes over your house can see all those TVs there, and you'll be able to
give them permission. If you give them permission.
If you give them permission. Yep. And you'll be able to put Netflix onto any of those TVs. And eventually, if you're wearing a pair of lightweight glasses, like Meta's glasses or Samsung's glasses, or, as these companies start embedding open browser standard technologies, you will be able to control your entire house through the metaverse. And you'll be able to put content all around there. You'll be able to put games in there. You'll be able to control your toaster, your TV. All that stuff will work literally through this system that we're building. And that's how we're so much different from Roblox. It's not a game. You're not just building a virtual world. You will use this technology to control what's going on in your house.
And you won't be controlled by the device's pre-baked software that they're going to force you to use, because that's what a browser does. It brings in outside services that you can choose to connect to provide the same services in an open ecosystem. But Biggie, did you have a follow-up question to that? I think you had one more. Oh, I think we lost Biggie. All right,
had a
Andy,
follow-up
go.
question. Oh, sorry.
Wait, whoever that is, you're next. Andy raised his hand. Andy, go for it.
Yeah. Right now, what kind of interactivity can you build into your fabric? And then I have a second question. Our servers, where's the data go? Like, should we locate the servers near your server or where the users are going to be?
Boy, really good question. So, if you're playing, if your server or your service, and I'm gonna jump forward and then I'll jump back a little bit. If your service requires like a very high, or say low latency interactivity, then putting the server near where the people are is a good idea. If you're just showing content like displaying the pavilion, then it doesn't make a difference. You can put it anywhere in the world. To answer your original question, like what amount of interactivity or I'll call it animation can you do right now? Today, the answer is very little. Okay. I had envisioned many years ago. That's really what the bread and butter of our company was founded on. It's this notion of being able to build services, and the services are real-time interactive elements. I've built some major, highly scalable services in the past, and my goal was to plug them in here. But WebXR, honestly, can't handle it. It can barely handle what we're doing right now. The native browser will be able to do that. And when the services are online,
we can hear you.
then the amount of interactivity will be crazy.
If you don't mind muting.
And if you guys can either move further away or kind of move further
Thank you,
away,
Mark.
great. Thank you. So what could you do today? So right now at this very instant, the spatial fabrics that you set up, the content is going to be static, but very soon, theoretically within days or weeks or a month or so, depending on how quickly we can roll this out. As you change content in your server, it will show up here in real time. So theoretically, then once we support that, it's mainly a client limitation right now because we can change content dynamically from the metaverse servers that we're building, but the client does not actually take changes in. So if we drop something right here, right now, this particular client would not process it this very instant. So that shouldn't be too far away. And once we do that, then you can start changing content on your server. The other thing we're going to build in is the ability for your content to be somewhat animated. So let's say you build a light into your server. We can make that light rotate around if you want to do disco thing, or if we have, like, if you go to the plaza, there's a blimp that just flies around in a circle. You could give it an animation that says, here's its cycle, here's its orbit, or here's its spin, stuff like that allow you to in that case, it's quote unquote static content for the server because you only send it over once, but the server will do the animation. Sorry, the client will do the animation locally. But if you want to actually change your content, like move a couch or move stuff around or let someone pick something up and drop it over there, that will come in time. And again, you don't necessarily have to wait for us to build it. Our hope is that we can engage with universities and departments and classes, or we can have some kind of a hackathon where people can take the metaverse server that we're letting you download, install right now, and modify it and build in more functionality than we've already been able to build in that would then give you even more ability to send dynamic content to us. So hopefully that answers that question. So the answer is not so much now, but over time, I'd say within 6 months to a year, it will be more substantial.
There's one thing that Dean left out. You will have the ability to bring in real live video and audio. And so you can bring in an M3U8. So we have a sample of that over here. And some of the sample locations are already using it where they can bring up their presentations or video that they want to run. There'll be controls for it where it can loop and pause, and you can control the volume. And you can go to a lot of sample locations that have already been built by different people out there that have these feature sets. And so we'll show and guide on how it's easy to do that. You have to obviously work with a third-party service provider that streams that content, and we know a couple, and there's obviously thousands of them that exist out there, but you just have to point a file to a certain location and it'll automatically play there. It's quite magic. It's quite neat. Andy, yeah, you like that.
Well, how come
Andy,
you guys didn't
one
use
other thing,
multimedia?
this is why we need a native browser. We need a native browser so that everyone can start building services and attach them. AI, tools, payment solutions, Venmo, PayPal, it is endless, the number of things. Imagine if Richard right in front of me builds the game of chess and I can reach out to an open ecosystem and grab his chessboard and drop it right here, and we can all instantly start playing chess. That is what the native browser is needed, so that you could build any native service and you can anchor it in the real world or at any location, and anyone that goes near that service will automatically connect to it persistently anywhere with no installs whatsoever. That is truly the big moment for the entire XR industry when we launch a native browser, and there's the freedom to build any service imaginable, own it, and sell it or give it away for free, just like plugins for websites. And that is going to be a time where everyone's gonna be like, I get it, the power of the browser. And we do have samples of these services. Behind, we connect to Google. We can control a light bulb in someone's house. We do have a video playing over here, and even the program to lift the spaceship right behind you up and down and turn the thrusters, that is on a primitive, a very simple service running off of a different server. And so when you are all around the world, including Zaus Princess, we are all over the world. And if you just go near that service, you instantly connect to that piece of software, and you don't have to install
So, like,
anything.
if I want to get my mother into my virtual home place,
You give her a
would
link
she
and
need
on a device,
to
and
have
that's it.
the native browser installed on her
No.
device, or could she just go, "Oh, I'm on an iPhone, I'm in Safari," plug and be in
Great
there?
question. So just like you're here today along with other people, she would be able to join your space from any device instantly today. What we're talking about, if you and your mother wanted to play chess every Thursday night, and you wanted to grab that game of chess built by some developer or individual out there, or pick from 100 different chess services, that's the ecosystem that will be jump started by a native browser. We have samples of how that will work, so you can interact with it and see the power and how in connecting and the freedom to be able to pick your services. And I'll give you a couple examples of services that will blow your mind away that I believe, and I'm telling you right now, you guys can record this and come back to me in a year or 2 years. The person that builds digital pets that
Will
I
be a
can
billionaire.
connect to a service that I can literally have a cat, a dog, a robot that follows me around that I can interact with, and they built the software, made that possible, will be a multi-billion-dollar company. The person that builds the tools that are as vast as like WordPress will be a multi-billion-dollar company. The people that build things to convert from Unity or Unreal or anything out there, Blender, Maya, to simply take their scene graphs that they've already built and make it streamable on the open browser will make a ridiculous amount of money. And some people may say, I'm not in it for the money. I'm going to build it and give it away as a tool for the open metaverse. And so this is the neat thing is we don't decide that. Dean doesn't decide that. I don't decide that. The entire
Still,
population makes that possible.
like
Wait,
I have like a crucial, like, as a metaverse evangelist, events
Yes.
host, I have like a annoying real life problem. So currently, I don't get many metaverse newbie users, interested folks. So I have to make it work on WebXR. But if I want to do something, so okay, I do like non-moving, non-interactive, like still experiences. But if I want to do something fancy with interaction or game mechanics, I could have that programmed and so on. But bottom line would be that my end users, whom I want to have like as easy accessible as possible, they would need to download the native browser in order to be able to play
Sean, I got it. Thank you.
Football.
So let me, because this is similar or same question that you asked before. So let me explain what's going to happen here. We're going to set up a consortium, and we're going to build the equivalent of Chromium in open source. Okay, so is there anyone here that has a device that does not already have a browser installed on it? And the answer is no. Every device has Chrome or Safari or Firefox. Everyone's got a browser. At this point in time, virtually everyone on the connected internet has a browser installed. So when we build this native browser, guts of it, you could launch and go download someone else's brand new browser. Okay. But what will most likely happen is just like if you go to Chrome right now and you type in a URL that ends in .pdf, Chrome will go, oh, PDF, I know that. And it'll open up and display the PDF. It's not displaying a web page, it's displaying the PDF file. If you type in a URL that ends in MP4, it'll go, oh, video, I know that. Okay. And then it'll display the video.
In the
Again, it's not
native
a web page.
browser or in
So-
like my mother has Safari on their
Right.
iPhone. How do I get my mother to experience a trivia game in the Quantum Bar with my AI-driven
So
bartender, which
chances
needs to
are-
use
Chances are in the future, we expect that Safari and Chrome and Firefox will take this open standard, this Chromium-like metaverse nugget of code and build it directly into Chrome and directly into Safari. So if you enter a URL that ends in MSF, which stands for Metaverse Spatial Fabric, it'll go, oh, MSF, I know that. And then it'll, instead of using PDF or HTML engine, it'll use the MSF engine, and it will then render the spatial fabric in 3D based on the open standards. So anyone in the future, I can't promise when, or I can't guarantee that Google's going to do this, but I have a hunch that they will. At some point, Chrome and Safari and Firefox and our browsers, if you want to download a new one from scratch, which you probably have to do in the early days, will automatically support MSF files and MSF content so that your mother does not have to download any extra piece of software at all. Every
But
device will.
currently, she still needs the native
Well,
browser. If I
Currently,
want to do something fancy.
currently she can come into RP1 the way that you're here now. Just go through a browser using WebXR. At some point, though, the capabilities of the open metaverse will outstrip the capabilities of WebXR. That will be in the early days of the browser, at which point your only option would be to install a freely available native browser onto your device. But shortly after that,
what you could do is you can go to your mom's house, because you're very technical, install whatever that new native browser is once, and just like with Chrome, she'll have access to the entire open metaverse and never have to worry about. And eventually they will be pre-installed to every device, just like devices today have pre-installed browsers in them. So yes, today you can use WebXR, no friction. Tomorrow, when the native browser is about, a tiny bit of friction only one time, and then you have access to the entire open spatial internet. So, and Zaus, I promise you, if you have a challenge getting your mom to get that native browser installed, I will find a way that someone will help get it installed on their device.
Can I ask my follow-up question about the services?
Yeah.
Sorry, hosting. You said that we obviously need to supply the bandwidth for the fabric. The voice services, though, that's by connecting to the fabric, that just comes as part of.
By attaching to RP1, RP1 provides all the voice and navigation services. So your RP1 provides the foundational spatial fabric layer because we're the primary fabric. So the primary fabric is responsible for things like voice, navigation, the bigger picture map, and other stuff like logging in, identity, managing your friends and groups and things like that. So the fact that you've plugged into RP1 means you don't have to handle any of that anymore. We handle the scalability of the people. If 1,000 people showed up at your venue, it would be just like this. It would be just like the bots over there. If you try to do that in anyone else's virtual world, you'd be limited to about 20 people for 6DoF and voice, and then it would shard up, and then you'd be also limited to a very small little snow globe. So we've broken those barriers already. That was how our company was founded. That's what we set out to solve. And now open standing it means you get to benefit from RP1 scalability. Now, if a browser points directly at you and you become the primary fabric, then you would have to handle those services. Fortunately, we don't have a native browser that can point directly at you yet. Your only option would be to plug into RP1. But we're working as hard as we can to make it possible for browsers that can point directly at you. And at that point, you would have the ability we would ship the ability for you to actually provide those types of services too.
I see. So we would basically either license from you or pay a subscription or something like that if we wanted to use your voice
Now, if you want to use and run your own primary fabric and not involve RP1, there will be products on the market which will range from free to services that other companies provide, which will cost whatever they decide to charge. But there should be servers available that will allow you to do this at on your own servers that are totally free, just like installing Apache or Linux or anything like that. Not necessarily to the scale that RP1 can do, but to do this kind of scale, you also need a very, very, very large amount of bandwidth and infrastructure that most people aren't prepared to build up. It would be like saying, oh, I can run Amazon on my home computer. Well, as long as your home computer involves like 800,000 servers, then yeah, you could do that as long as you had a pipeline for 8 terabits of traffic coming in your house, then yeah, no problem. But most people don't have that kind of connectivity or server power. So the bigger you get, if you wanted to have a server that handled thousands of people, you would actually need many, 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 many more machines than most people can affordably or realistically run. Bigger companies, yeah, bigger companies who've got the budget will figure out how to build that for their own needs. But
Okay.
you will
For
be
the
able to.
foreseeable future, you guys are going to be running a fabric that handles all the voice and
Yeah, and for the next
Yep.
and for the next year or so, it should be totally free. I don't see why. And when it's not free, again, let me say, when it's not free, attaching your fabric to RP1 could be like $1 a year or $4 a year. We're not talking about like quote unquote buying land from Decentraland at $6,000 for a 100-meter by 100-meter plot. This isn't an NFT play. We're talking about literally if you attach your home to RP1, if your home is a standard size US based home or whatever, or an apartment, you're looking at potentially $1 a year for our service for that.
Okay,
It's we're not talking about it's not an NFT. Land is, oh my God, there's only so much land, get it now, and the value of the land is in its artificial scarcity. It's not like that at all.
Yep.
Oh, I've got a comment.
Yeah, go for it, Stephen.
So, congratulations. I was able to sign up as a developer, deploy my MV server, my SQL server, and attach to the system, and I'm already searchable in the list.
Look at Stephen. Look at that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
love it.
Thank you to David Cernicke and Junior Bustamante for
Jim,
making
did you hear this?
that easy and that possible.
Yeah, I want to know where it is.
What's the name?
Neurofile.
What's it called?
Neurofile. NEUAR. Or yeah, NEURA. And it already exists. It's up. It's connected. Searchable. I'm super excited because I've spent the last couple of years. I have services that I think I'll be able to hook in. So, like, I already use HLS, which is what you're talking about with that M3 U8 file. So, congratulations!
I search for it. It shows up in the menu. It's like 8,000 kilometers away from here. So awesome.
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
Wow. We can all go there right now and see it. We don't want to do that. We're going to lose half the people here, but that's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm not trying to get people to go away. I just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Friction was it was little or no friction, and I was able to do it in VR, which was just amazing to be able to do.
I love it.
And if 1,000 people showed up there right now, you'd be able to have them all talking and playing and dancing at the same time. That scalability can be found on no one else's platform on the planet. That is spectacular that you were able to do that easily. Awesome.
Yeah. I finished it half an hour ago.
I love
it. And that's just like the prescribed, cheap, easy way to do it right now. There's no one way to set up a web server. Like, if I said to you, how do I set up a web server? Well, today I've got like 30,000 options. Back in 1989, I only had one option. However, Tim Berners-Lee told me to do it. That was the way to do it. And so that's the way we have it right now. But a half of a year from now to a year from now, if the open source community gets involved, because every single one of you are going to post about this on social media. So your 10 friends and their 10 friends are all going to start contributing, and all these universities and all these companies are going to start building. What we gave you today could be like 1,000 times bigger or better or more flexible. And just like the web servers of today are nothing like the web servers of 30 years ago, it's just going to explode. And again, to reiterate, the best news of all is you guys don't have to wait for me to do it. You can all start getting in front of your computers and building new and better ways of building metaverse servers. And it doesn't have to be SQL Server. It doesn't have to be MySQL. There's all sorts of databases, all sorts of storage formats for storing the stuff and for transmitting it. It doesn't have to be Socket.io. Doesn't have to be Node.js. So these things will develop over time, and we're hoping people get involved and do that. But that was about the best thing that anyone could have said here. So Stephen does not.
Stephen,
he's not a. He's not a plant.
He's not a plant. You're not a plant.
Oh no, I am definitely not a plant.
Can I ask
Just
a
an advocate.
question?
Evo.
Yes, go for it, Eva. How's it going?
I know we had talked about it in the past, but RTMP and live streaming, what would be the next steps to make that workable for those of us who want to do mixed reality and live events and all of that?
So we need to make it, we need to document and make sure that we have the processes down for you to drop an object into your map. So right now, I think the demo site that we give you gives you like this space-like area and some ducks, and you can just drop a duck into your stored procedure, or into your spatial fabric. I'm thinking coding right now. And so you can go out and grab your own objects and put them in a folder, and then you can start dropping those objects into your spatial fabric. One of the objects that you should be able to drop in your spatial fabric is a screen and also a speaker. So if you want to play audio or if you want to show video, just like you can drop a duck into your fabric, you should be able to drop a video into your fabric and a screen. Like we could put a video back on this screen, and it would give you the ability, you would your URL, and you'd have to put a control panel somewhere so that you can control your URL to your video, and then you'd have to put your video or audio on some form of a web streaming service, depending on the amount of people you have. Because if you just drop a movie onto a web server and expect everyone to download it, you're not going to be able to handle more than like 4 or 5, 6 people at a time. But if you've got a lot of people and you want to do streaming, you can just drop your video or audio onto a streaming service. And then when people go near that video, it'll just start to play. Or if they go near the audio, they'll start to hear it. And so we just need to make sure that you can drop those into your fabric as easily as you can drop a duck into your fabric. And voila, you can create in your house, you can say, I want a video screen here, I want a video screen here. And our vision is that not only will it play M3U8 streaming files, but we hope that someday in the not too distant future, you will be able to log into your Netflix account and stream directly into a screen that you put up in your house or in so let's say you want to have a viewing party. You want to create a venue with a big like drive-in movie theater, and everyone who goes to that venue just logs in with their Netflix account, and then they all stream the same movie at the same time, and you have a little viewing party. That should be fully possible. I mean, Netflix allows you to cast to your phone. There's no reason why they shouldn't allow you to do it into this particular type of streaming device. And we will start having those conversations with the HBOs and Paramounts and Netflixes of the world to try to make that easily possible.
Great.
So,
I
did
do
that
have
answer your
some
question?
streaming partners that I think I can bring to the table, but if others here want to work on this particular challenge, I have a goal of meeting this challenge in the next 4 months. So
that is the second best thing I could have heard. Let's set up a Discord channel specifically for this project, because that's what we want to do. We have a number of objectives that we would like to fulfill with the open source community, but we also, one of our objectives is to get other people's objectives to be fulfilled as well. And so if we set up a Discord for people who want to solve this problem, we can, if you got contacts in the streaming world, we can work with them to make sure that people can stream Netflix and HBO into RP1 or into your fabric, provided that people have an account with Netflix and HBO. As long as they log in with their account, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to stream it into a video. And that would appear in AR or VR.
And what I love what Dean is saying is that Evo has a great idea. You don't need permission from us. You can start building those tools and partnerships, and it can exist without us having to spearhead it, be a part of it. If you want us to help and give guidance and all these types of things, happy to do so. But this is the power of what today means. Today means that everyone can start doing what they want and build things and come up with ideas and features and things that people are going to need without RP1 having to build it ourselves. And I know Dean's already said this multiple times, but I promise you, he is really excited to not have to program all those.
Oh my God.
He's worked really hard to give away technologies that the top companies can't build. And we're giving away almost all of it for free. And
Is-
so Matt, Evo, do you have another question, or is that are you?
Wait, really? Is David Nassau here? David?
Yep.
Oh, good. I heard his voice over there. David, if you can connect with Evo, and I would really like to get this project on Discord. Make sure that Evo, David's sitting over here. He's flying around. If you
Yeah.
guys can get connected, make sure we set you up, get you in there, and we can help try to find people who would be interested in solving your product. And that would be such a spectacular example of how things get done in the open world. And it would
Yeah.
also be a big benefit for the community. That would be awesome.
Let's stay
So-
in touch on the collaboration, and anyone else here, feel free to reach out to me on Discord or here.
And Evo, guess what? You can build your XR guild project now. Like it's totally launchable.
That's
Yes.
exactly the use case we're talking about for making sure our unconference next year is mixed reality and being able to provide some link between the virtual and the physical.
I love it. Matt had a question. I think he was next. Matt, go for
Yeah,
it.
since you guys are owning the audio, you guys are already doing a great job in controlling it through location and distance. I was just wondering if the user could possibly get like whisper mode, or where we can bring down the distance down to like 4 feet or
Oh,
something.
Matt,
It's
I-
as
we
if
did
we
not-
have plants all over the place.
We did not ask Matt to ask this question. It is a perfect question because the audio here, I'm going to remind everyone, it is not WebRTC. WebRTC could not have this many people with simultaneous audio going. The audio is actually built from the ground up using Dean's database technology. And in fact, there is an unlimited number of features and presets that you can build on your own. And I'll let Dean explain exactly how that works.
So everyone can follow along with me. In the upper left-hand corner of your menu, there's a little microphone icon with a little
hold on. So menu, if you're on XR, you can hit Y and it'll open up your menu. If you're on desktop, you can hit the letter M. And if you're on a mobile, you can hit the little hamburger menu and open it up on the top left. Go ahead.
By default, the microphone should be visible to everyone at all times. You've turned it off, but it should be visible. But yeah, so M, if the microphone in your upper left-hand corner is not visible, open up your menu. There's a little arrow next to it. Hit the down arrow. You'll see normal, meeting, and crowds, and a little pencil next to crowds. Hit the pencil, and that will open up your microphone, and you can create your own presets. I think you can create 6, 12, 9. I don't know how many presets you can create. But if you pick one, or you add a new one, you can pick like crowds, for example, and then hit edit in the lower right corner. You can change all of these sounds that control
Can you put on mute?
focus angle. Thank you. So focus angle will take your...
Wait, hold on, Dean. Would you mind muting real quickly? You have a really, really bad feedback on your thing. Muda, sir, just hit the mute button on the top left, please. Mute, sir.
We had it. We had an admin mute, and I don't know what happened to it, but
mute, sir. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you please mute? Please.
All right, I'm going to move on.
Thank you. There we go.
Anyways, thank you. So all these things control how audio is perceived by you, and the server will take your input for your particular setting at any given moment and mix it exactly the way that you want. And so it controls how quickly sounds dissipate as they go. Hey, nice to meet you. Could you do us a favor and just step off stage? Maybe go that way a little bit. Yeah. Thank you. Or I'll move over here. Okay, so admin tools are lacking right now. Obviously, we will work to build that. But again, we appreciate everyone being very cooperative here. So you have drop-off distance. You have boost for making sounds louder as they get closer to you. We have focus that allows you to direct the sounds in the direction that you're looking and how quickly they drop off behind you. We have something called clarity, which is the magic value at all, and clarity controls how you perceive sound. That is not necessarily closer or further to you, but more, how do I put this? If everyone here were talking, clarity will focus on the sounds of people who are talking closer to you, not necessarily based on the absolute distance of how far people are talking. So clarity helps you discern the voices that are closer to you. So anyways, all these things are go into the real-time server, and there's an infinite number of values you can put for each one of these different values, and the server will mix it all together to provide the audio experience that is designed specifically the way that you want it to work for you.
and it's all live. So if you make these presets, instantly you will hear my distance change. So I'll give you an example. If everyone could put it on meetings real quickly. And meetings allows you to hear in full 360 very far away. So everyone put it on meetings. I'm gonna go stand. Don't turn around. I'm gonna go stand over there. And in about 5 seconds, Dean's gonna tell you to put it on crowds. And I'm gonna keep yelling. I'm gonna start talking really loud.
You stay there. Everyone can put it on crowds right now. And Sean
What do we
will
do
keep
if our
talking.
presets went missing for some reason?
Wait, what happened?
You know what? That happens. If that happens, just refresh your browser and they should come back.
Oh, okay, thanks.
It's a lost connection to the registry where we keep all the settings. But if everyone goes to and just changes it to crowds right now, as Sean talks, you can turn yourself around. And as you turn around, you'll notice that Sean's voice gets quieter and louder. As your direction changes away from him, it's going to prioritize sounds in the direction that you're currently listening. So I can either talking.
Yeah, we'll keep
Sean's
talking.
really good at talking.
Hey, Dean, we're going to keep talking. You're a good talker. I'm a good talker. So you guys can turn around literally and face that way if you want. Or guess what I'm going to do? Because I know some of you don't know how to turn around because you're new to the system. I can walk around here behind you and you could see I'm no longer going to be really hard to hear me because you're all facing. And as I move around here, and all of a sudden now I'm going to get back on stage and I'm now facing you, you're going to now hear me. And guess what? If you change it back to meetings, you could have heard me the entire time I was walking around, and it's all live. The audio is in your full control to really hear. And more importantly, you'll eventually be able to do presets where people enter a space and you may create the best practice audio setting that you want people to have to focus on a TED Talks or a stage or a concert, all these different things. And so it really gives massive flexibility. And the audio that Dean has created, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've been on many, many, many platforms. Many of them use WebRTC. In fact, most of them don't have audio and you're forced to use Discord. The audio is completely built into this universal map system and spatial fabric that you can connect to get the power of this type of audio for any space that you want to host. So that's the thing. But any other questions?
Right. Does that answer your question? Hopefully it does.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job, Dean.
Thank you.
I've got a question. Yeah.
Yes.
We had one over here and one over here.
Yeah, one over here. I didn't see who it was.
Yeah, me.
Adam. Yep.
Adam.
I had heard some vague talk about 6 months in a year. Do you have any timelines you could share about either the browser or your services?
Well, the browser itself is live today, so that starts today. I want to be super clear because I think people. I want to make sure they're not confused because I know Zal's Princess said today, just like what Steven did, you could build your own spatial fabric and on your metaverse server and attach it. As far as the native browser. Yeah, the native browser, it really depends. So Adam, if you can write a check for a couple $1 million, we can have it out to you in about 6 months. So if that's okay, we can just make that happen and I'll have it for you in 6 months or so. A little bit more than that.
We'll need 10 million for 6 months.
Yeah, so 10 million for 6 months. But as soon as we actually, and hopefully a lot of companies and or individuals, or hopefully some philanthropists that might be in the audience, the quicker that we can get the capital, and the reason why we need the capital from outside sources and donated to a standard body is it lets the native browser to be completely an open standard and not owned by any company. That is the most important thing for all of us. And if you remember, DARPA actually helped fund the early days of the browser, and we need either government, individuals, education system to help fund the open standards that we are going to help architect and bring to the world as quickly as possible. So it really depends on how fast we can get those that money and how quickly we can get the participation. And that also can come in the form of people volunteering to actually program and assist in their time as well. And so the quicker that people can unify together, the quicker that we can deliver that. But we're talking about anywhere between 6 and 18 months, depending on the type of funding and how fast we can actually start architecting it.
I will say, I mean, Sean did say, if you've got, $8 million kind of in jest, but many of the people here either work for a very large corporation who can benefit from this. And we do expect that corporations and universities to be the backbone of the open source project. We've literally talked to 100 enterprise level companies that are unanimous that they're all sitting around waiting for the ability to host their own content on their own server to move forward. This benefits a lot of industries, And so we've talked to companies like Boeing and Exxon, and Sean's mentioned Chick-fil-A a couple times because we've talked to Chick-fil-A. It runs a spectrum. So if anyone works for a big corporation who understands the need for this technology and wishes to contribute to the open native browser system, we are starting a consortium that will be a 403c tax deductible charitable contribution, and it will help forward the industry immensely.
There was another person that had a question
over here.
Can we get a demo of the multimedia stuff, the streaming?
Yeah, we could take everyone over there right now, which would kind of break up the crowd a bit. But if you go around the corner right now, you'll see a big green screen, and the closer you get to it, it'll all of a sudden turn into a video. And then there is a volume control that lets you turn the volume up and down. So if you want to, on your free time, just hop over there, watch the video for a moment, and then come on back. Anyone who wants to do that can do that.
And you'll be able to,
miss all
do that in your own place.
Yeah, then you'll be able to you'll miss all the compliments if you leave right now, because I know we're just getting to the compliment section any moment. So
is that after the QA?
Yes. Well, it's during. It's questions, answers, and compliments. Okay. QAC.
Where's that screen again?
The screen is stage
right around the corner.
Stage left, no, stage right, or to your left, depending if you're facing the stage. But there's a green screen, and that's a real-time service that you'll connect to instantly from your device. And there's controls on the right side for volume, and it's a movie. It's unbelievable. It looks amazing, but you'll be able to drop anything imaginable in your space the exact same way that works.
By the way, it's a shared video, so that if someone turns the volume up, you're going to hear the volume. Anyone can control the volume, and anyone can control the movie. So if someone pauses it or continues it, you'll all be watching the movie simultaneously.
Any other questions? Anything imaginable?
Sometimes it doesn't work on some iPhone devices.
Yeah.
Desktop
iPhone
and
is a
VR.
little problematic. I think we have a solution for it, but it's on, as my programmer said, it's on the list to address. So we'll get to that.
I have a question.
Another question on this side, Gabe.
Yeah. So right now, like we were just thinking, like I'm with Rowan, and we were gonna start like building and stuff, and I know that like there's like that group functionality right now, and like the chats kind of like exist, but like is there any foreseeable improvement for like connecting people at all?
There's a million different ways we can go, and probably a lot of different improvements. I would say if you have specific suggestions on how we could improve the features to help whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, if you drop those and talk to us in Discord, we can.
I did make one message recently in the suggestions channel, but yeah.
We're just to let you know, we've had a lot of programmers work, not a lot of most of our company, I'll just say percentage-wise, a lot of programmers have been working around the clock for the last months and weeks, and especially days, programming feature. As of today, officially, now that this is launched, yes, we do have a couple things we need to finish, but we will be much more actively involved in the Discord channels, the programming team. And so if you made a suggestion, we will go back and see it. If you want to bump it up to the top, be sure, David Nassau is a great contact to talk to him about anything that involves any of our customer outreach, and make sure that the appropriate person sees it. But if there's a feature that would help you run meetings and get people not just into the world, but to make the world more functional and usable for you, then that is really our goal. It's not about, oh, what kind of traffic can we get for RP1? It's like, what kind of experience can we create here that will enable you to achieve the goals that are that your company or whatever it is that you're doing is set out to achieve. So we'll see what we can do to improve those systems, because adding meeting type features really isn't that complicated. And I know we've got a few bugs that are remnant of an update that we did last month that we still have to look at. So
all right, any other questions?
Oh, question.
Yes, Jay.
If you were to walk into an elevator with Jeff Bezos, what would be your elevator pitch?
That's a great question. I would tell him, would he want to help the creation of the open spatial internet? And if you really think about legacy, the ability to start and jump and really create an open ecosystem that will change the world is probably one of the biggest things you can put on a resume for legacy. And we are creating literally the world's first 3D browser that is the same inflection point as when the first web browser was created to create the World Wide Web. And we would love your help in creating the spatial internet to enable not one company to control any component and the ability for everyone to start building. And more importantly, it would allow Amazon to have a head start in creating the first shopping services and things that can used by anyone in the world. We could literally multiply the revenue that they create today. And so a little bit of open, a little bit of self-serving, but that would probably be the quickest thing I would get to his interest. Yeah, Dean, go for it.
I don't disagree with Sean's answer. The what Sean said though presupposes the notion that you understand why the metaverse is so important. And so one of the things I would say to include in that pitch would be we've talked to 100 or however many enterprise level companies that have ongoing projects that are in the perpetual prototype mode for XR projects that are saving them hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, Exxon has told us what they're using it for. Again, prototype mode. Different restaurants and companies all have plans for these devices that will save them hundreds of millions of dollars, but none of them can get it out of prototype mode, or at best they can use it for training because they cannot install their their metaverse infrastructure on their own servers. Until an airport or a hotel or a big box store or the government or space agencies can install their metaverse infrastructure on their own servers, none of this takes place. So Meta hopes to sell 1 billion glasses, but if you walk into an airport and if an airport cannot deploy their metaverse infrastructure on their own servers, there's going to be nothing for your glasses to connect to. So Meta's not going to sell hardly any glasses. The reason HoloLens shut down is because 99% of their market is shut out of them because the companies that would like to use HoloLens cannot deploy their metaverse infrastructure on their own servers. So once this open technology is available and once people can deploy the stuff on their own servers, now the whole world of industry and enterprise is open, and all the companies that are hoping to sell glasses can now actually start selling glasses. It's the number one reason why Meta can only sell a couple million VR headsets a year is because they've shut out 99% of their market with a closed ecosystem. There's a lot of companies out there that would like to buy 10,000, 50,000 headsets or that have use for millions, if not hundreds of millions of headsets. But there's no use for them beyond training right now. So with 99% of the market shut out, the entire AR, VR industry is just completely hobbled.
And I want to add to that, the VR industry, Meta quickly found out they can only sell the same number of units as a gaming console in a year. And the reason being is that when AR glasses literally replace mobile devices, VR becomes one of the most important devices in the world because you can join anyone in the real world instantly and interact with them. And that's where you're going to see the number of VR headsets sell way higher than anything that they thought. So the reason why they're cutting back, and everyone's like, well, the metaverse is dead, the internet, is that instead of focusing on VR, they're focusing a lot of their efforts on AR glasses and getting the first commercially viable AR glasses, not smart glasses, which is really just a 3D display with built-in AI that you have no control over. Eventually, AR glasses will replace mobile devices. And when that happens, and think about what the web did. It connected all of us globally on websites, chat rooms, forums, everything imaginable within 2D spaces. The promise of the metaverse has not been realized, which is why people don't understand it. And I think a lot of you do understand it because you come from this industry. The power of the metaverse is to connect us as close to reality as possible. So if we have another pandemic or people all over the world want to join in a conference or in a classroom or in a conference room or in a business meeting or in building architectural plans or anything imaginable, imagine me be able to join a plumber in the real world at a house that can't figure something else out, and I can actually be there without actually being there. That is the power of the metaverse, the ability for any loved one, someone you work with to instantly join you in the real world, and they're in virtual reality and you're in AR glasses and they can see what you see, and you're having a conversation as if they're right in front of you and interact with any piece of software. That is when the entire world will understand the power of the metaverse. And it's no different than the internet. Everyone's like, why do I need a website? This internet is dead. This is stupid. We don't need websites. Why do we need a browser? But those people just didn't understand the impact it can have on humanity. And the only difference of the metaverse to the World Wide Web, which is a parallel, is the evolution of the World Wide Web, is that we are now going to be able to share experiences in a way that just was not possible. The ability to literally be in your house every Thursday night with a loved one and play a game of chess, or to see someone born, or to join in a classroom even though I'm completely around the world. That's the power of metaverse. Imagine, just look around right now. You are all over the world with different interests and excitement about the future of the metaverse. And with one click, we are all together having this conversation. Imagine you can actually join me in my house for a meeting or in a TED Talk, and people can actually be looking around to their neighbors that are completely remote, to other people that are actually really there in the real world. That's the power. It's going to connect us in ways that the 2D World Wide Web can't do. And that's why we're all excited about it, but we can't unlock it unless there's truly an open ecosystem. Because if we're stuck in the AR glasses that Meta builds and doesn't have the freedom to bring our own services, to create our own AI, to create our own things that we want to build, like we do have the freedom with websites and all the tools that are built for the World Wide Web, we don't own it. We are just one small speck, but if we can all build it together, then we can unite together as an XR industry. And this is the part that's been missing in this entire journey. And this is why I said this day, December 8th, 2025, is a day that everyone can start building together. Not that it's RP1 has finally got to this inflection point. I said when we started this conversation that this is way bigger than RP1. This is about us coming together to build the actual open metaverse. And people will understand it as soon as the AR glasses come out. This entire ecosystem will be ready for every company, every individual to build hundreds of millions of services that will interact in our homes, in our workspace, socially, anywhere in the world. And that's the power of what we're talking about today. And so that's really, I'm excited. But Dean, go ahead.
I just want to say one, and I'll try to be very brief, thing on the supposed death of VR glasses, where people think that VR is just not going to be a thing ever. At least half of the companies that we talk to have very large hopes and plans for AR combined VR meetings. They do not have any interest in joining Meta Horizons world and going and hopping around a world with 13-year-olds. They want to use this stuff for business, and they want to have meetings. They want to have people join them from virtual world or from outside their spaces to meetings, and to be able to see stuff that's going on in a particular environment. As soon as the open metaverse makes that possible, and they can host that infrastructure on their own servers, the VR headsets and it will be just as important as the AR, I believe.
Yep. All right. So, any other questions? Feel free. Greg Panos. Actually, we have a Hall of Fame XR expert. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, there's more. There's more than just me, and more
Yeah.
than one Hall of Famer here. But anyway, thank you. What is the minimal viable configuration for running a server at your home? For instance, let's say you've got a fiber and at a gigabyte up and down symmetrical. So you've got the bandwidth taken care of. You've got a high-end PC that you might have been using for gaming. What kind of capacity could that run? I remember when I used to do load testing and played around a lot with high fidelity when they were at their peak. You could run a version of their server on your software, and all somebody needed was the URL to join you at your server. This sounds like a very similar implementation, but can you talk a little bit about the hardware requirements,
It's
operating
very
system,
it's
Linux,
very different
Windows?
than that,
Yeah.
because we don't segment the world and say, okay, when you install your spatial fabric at this location right here, okay, that's your server, and if people want to join you at that location, they have to hop onto your machine. The client right now, the browser, is merging your content into the combined world. So we're still handling all the audio. We're handling the avatar movement. All of that traffic is being handled by us. That's 99% of everything that's going on. So when you set up infrastructure, or when you set up a Spatial Fabric and plug it into the world, you're just serving up the content that people need to see when they come within your space. So let's say that your total content is like 30 megabytes of object content because it's all low poly and stuff like that. So if I come near your server, I'm going to need to download about 30 megabytes worth of content, let's say. And if it's a really big space, let's say you're doing the entire UCLA campus, we're not going to do everything on the campus. You're just going to get the stuff around you. So if the entire UCLA campus was like a gigabyte's worth of data, you would just get it in little bits and chunks. But let's say you have a reasonable size area, about the size of this pavilion, yeah, then most of everything on your server would be sent to every user who comes near it. But that's not a lot. Let's say you have one user come by a minute, then you're only talking about 20 megabytes per minute. So we're talking about kilobits per second. Very, very, very small amount of kilobits per second. Now, as the metaverse grows, half a year from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, your space might be filled up with lots of services. But again, those services aren't necessarily services that you provide. They might come from other service provider. So if you put a poker table in your house for people to play, well, the poker company is going to be handling the bandwidth for that poker table. So you're still going to be responsible for just the content that you're serving up, which is the low poly buildings and stuff like that that you've got around you. So you're still talking about kilobits per second. It's very, very, very minor. In terms of like overall hard drive storage, I don't know, 40 megabytes. You get a spare 40 megabytes of hard drive storage space, you're good to go. So it's why a free or $5 a month hosting should cover most people for typical small spaces in this general, like literally this entire courtyard area here, easily get away with the $5 a month or free hosting.
That's great. The other question I had is there's such a rage going on with Gaussian splats as spatial primitives. People are digitizing their home spaces using Hyperscape and things and creating Gaussian splats and arrival space. You're you're currently polygonal primitive based at the moment. Is there any way that somebody would be able to import one of those spaces as an overlay or as a background? Or
what we're trying to do is make this client that you're all running in right now open source as well. And right now we use the platform that we use, or the engine that we use, is the Wonderland engine, and they natively support object files, GLB, GLTF, and there's no reason why, if that technology could be incorporated into the Wonderland engine, that we can't just plug it in. It's kind of like saying, oh, I got a web browser and I can put a JPEG image in here, and you're like, can you support GIF and WebP or other formats? It's like, yeah, as long as we can convert that image to something that's renderable in a graphics engine, there shouldn't be any problem to that. I can tell you, in a native browser, 100% absolutely. You just about any format of graphics that you can imagine will be pluggable directly into the open source browser, because from the ground up, that'll be built by the entire community. And someone's going to say, hey, I want to support this format. And it's like, great, just program it in. There's the code right there.
is that the engine that was being used in the roller coaster construction set game?
I'm not sure, but we are using the Wonderland engine to make this prototype possible using WebXR. And with the native browser, we can use stuff like Godot or O3DE or any pretty much gaming engine. But gaming engines, instead of them being monolithic, we really need the rendering part of the gaming engine. And it should be a standard where you could be able to insert any gaming engine into the native browser that would act very similar. So you'd be able to build your own competing native browser. You may say, I like this rendering engine better because it does a better job. You would have the ability to do that, along with you like one VPS system versus another, which helps locate where you're standing when you're using the browser to send you the assets or services that are near you and anchored based on your location. And so the whole premise of this is really to create that open ecosystem where, again, we're not choosing those things. So you may actually be able to figure out that, hey, even with WebXR, a Gaussian splat would actually load quite nicely. And if you test that and it works, then great. But if it crashes the browser, you'll know, hey, this is something that just WebXR can't handle. And so we're excited that the community will start playing around with things that they can do on their own spatial fabric, and they will instantly be able to see if it works in world or not and tailor it based on the limitations. And then obviously once we move to the native browser, it will unlock all those limitations to greater capabilities based on a better, higher end gaming engine and access to your local resources. So you're not limited to the limitations of WebXR and polys and all that stuff.
Yeah, you might want to take a look at the World Labs prototype that's running. They're calling it Marble right at the moment. I don't really know what kind of rendering they're doing, but it's once it assembles it's using Gaussian splats, because if you wander from one area to another that it hasn't created yet, you'll notice, all the shards. But uh, there may be something under the hood there that's rendering in at their back end and frame serving to you. I'm not really sure how it's working, but it looks pretty promising.
Yeah, Greg, I'm hopeful someone in the audience, or at some point, someone will start playing around with Gaussian splats and show things that are, it's kind of like the first websites were probably pretty ugly. And then
Yeah.
someone showed up and made a website that looked absolutely amazing. And then started people copying them or figuring out how they did what they did. And then tools came out and it grew like wildfire. I believe that same thing's going to happen with, the open standards that we're inflecting today.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for joining us here. I really appreciate it. Any other questions? Open book, anything you can imagine.
Has anyone else here during the
Myro.
course of this conversation? I was going to ask, has anyone else here during the course of the conversation signed up as a developer and stood up their own spatial fabric? Or was it just, who was the, Stephen?
Stephen. Yeah, Stephen.
Is it just the one?
Could you send us the info again?
I'm working
'Cause
on it.
Just go to Evo. Just go to dev.rp1.com, or you can go to rp1.com and go to developer, and there'll be a link to take you to our dev center, and then the instructions should be very straightforward from there. Myrothos. Is it Myrothos? Can I say that? Myrothos?
Yeah, it's perfect. Fine. So my question is, have you already thought about the way you handle custom avatars and the performance on the other people, or like how will you?
Question.
Oh, what? These avatars aren't
Sounds-
fantastic?
You don't love these? No,
they
I'm
are.
kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. So
Love is
there
funny,
is
Dale.
a couple of answers to that. One is, first of all, there will be eventually standards around avatar systems that have different LODs that can work across, whether that's VRM. At some point, there's going to be standards around how avatars can work on all platforms in all areas. That would be amazing. Obviously, RP1, with our limited team size, it's hard for us to build a massive avatar ecosystem. At some point, we will move towards that and create a much better avatar system based on those same standards, so that you're able to move. The other thing that's going to be key is eventually someone in this audience or someone out there in the world are going to build identity that help store your avatars and things, so that it connects to different either platforms or ecosystems that you can seamlessly bring your avatar and instantly connect. And so there's a lot of things that will happen based on the open community and creating those standards around those avatar fields. We did our best quick and dirty as far as an avatar system, just to make sure that you can see the technologies and understand what is needed for an open metaverse and a 3D browser. And that's what this is for today. And I believe our avatars will get better over the coming months. And then, of course, once we have a native browser and we can get more funding, we will have full-blown avatar systems, allow you to, imagine if it's just 4 of us. We can have really high LODs with really gorgeous avatars. But if you go into a public area where there's hundreds of avatars, obviously we're going to have to drop down, or the browser won't be able to render all those avatars. And more importantly, in the years to come, as the internet's pipeline grows and you're able to stream gigabytes of data versus hundreds of megabytes of data, then we're not having that problem anymore. You're going to be able to get beyond Unreal level graphics and avatars that are absolutely gorgeous, because you don't have the limitation of what you can stream in real time. And so that's all going to grow over time. I always remind people, if we had Netflix 30 years ago, we'd be sitting and waiting. You'd start a movie, it would stop and load and wait, and then the movie would go in there. But now we just stream movies as if it just works. And the same thing I believe will happen with the open metaverse. The bandwidth will continue to increase. The Wi-Fi devices and routers will have larger capacity. The bandwidth can be larger, and then streaming, 500 avatars at 20 megabytes a pop is going to be, a thing of the past. And so those are the things I believe will grow.
Let me throw a couple numbers behind there right now, and because we are a WebXR based demo, effectively we've discovered that WebXR can't handle a whole lot more than about 200,000 triangles in a 200 meter radius. So we've got about 50 people standing around here right now. If each avatar were 2,000 triangles, that would be half of our triangle budget. It'd be 100,000 triangles, which means all the rest of everything else you see around here, if it were larger than 100,000 triangles, it would overwhelm WebXR. A native browser with a native good high-end graphics engine can probably handle 20 million triangles instead of 200,000. So that's half the problem, is the fidelity, the visual fidelity of what WebXR in a web browser stack can handle. The other problem is, in other companies don't have to worry about this because they can't handle more than 20 avatars in a 6DOF system. But if a good quality avatar were 20 megabytes and you went into the plaza and there were 1,000 people around you, you'd be hit with a 20 gigabyte download. And so there's, we actually talked about two things very recently, one being audio and one being Gaussian splats, where if you did it one way, you're limited to only so much fidelity, but yet someone on the planet has figured out a different way to do it that gives you way more fidelity for way less. So we can handle, our server can handle mixing 5,000 full real-time audio streams at a time where everyone else's servers can't handle a whole lot more than 30. Okay, so maybe someone out there can figure out how to get a super high fidelity avatar in 20 kilobytes instead of 20 megabytes. And when the world starts working towards the problems that we are going to face in a real-time streamed metaverse that can handle thousands of avatars, people might start scratching their heads and going, okay, that's a problem that I can solve, and it might get better and better and better. And some genius programmer might go, oh my God, I got it. And they figure out a way to get 1,000 times more avatars of high quality in a lower space. Just like we've solved many problems like that, and other people have solved problems like that over the years. So right now, the world is thinking towards higher triangle avatars, 20 megabyte avatars, 20 gigabyte avatars. We need them to start thinking like 20 kilobyte avatars. And when that happens, then we're going to get great, great, great stuff.
And then to just take it a step further, what Dina said is the entire graphics world is all about pre-compiled downloadable experiences. And so when you play Fortnite, you download 100 gigabytes worth of data to your device. If you go to another experience that has really high fidelity, you're going to download all those assets and store it on your device. But when you're talking about the open metaverse that streams things, just like the World Wide Web streams websites, we have the problem that Dean just described. And so no one has really been concerned about this problem because there hasn't really been an open standard and the ability for people to build for a streamable open metaverse. And so hopefully a lot of people will see the limitations and solve these problems where a lot of people didn't care about this problem. And so maybe it's someone in this audience, maybe someone that listens to this or listens to our podcast or gets involved, they're going to say, I finally now can contribute to a project that can use some of the things that I've designed or figured out through software. So that's an amazing question. So I appreciate that. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. First off, this is fantastic. Yes. Hi. My background is in pharmacy, so I'm merely a metaverse enthusiast.
Awesome.
But I have a few questions on the business side of things. Two questions, if I may.
Yes.
First off, how many large tech firms have approached you to acquire you? And secondly, do you have any aspirations of going IPO to raise funds?
Those are two amazing questions. I'll start off with, we are currently a small team that has been fully bootstrapped for almost 6 full years. And you would say that we were building the browser for 6 years. That's inaccurate. We started again with scaling technology to see who would want to buy new scaling technology that can unlock experiences. And when we started demoing those experiences, we realized the demo itself was actually the construct of an early browser. And the light bulb went off about 1.5 years that we're actually going to be going all in and building a true browser, a 3D browser for the world. And so we've done that fully bootstrapped. We have not had any companies reach out to it. I believe some of the larger companies are just getting wind of who we are, what we do, and the impact it can have. So that is literally just starting, literally in the last probably couple of weeks. So I do hope that they will want to put funds in our company to allow us to go faster so they can build components that will affect their business. And on top of that, we are, whether it's an IPO or really just bringing in funding partners. So there's two aspects. There's RP1 as a service provider, which is a private company. And then there's the open standards of building actually a native browser. And so if you were to separate those two things, we're eventually going to really be focusing on the native browsers and open standard, where hopefully companies will donate or provide money because they will get use out of the native browser. And hopefully individuals will contribute as well because of we can have an open metaverse faster. We were looking for private funds so that we can grow the RP1 team because we need to expand our scale. And so right now we have enough computers to handle 100,000 concurrent, fully persistent users, but we can scale that to 1 billion users. Now, the good news and bad news is the good news is we can scale that to 1 billion concurrent users. The bad news is we don't have the funds to do that. And so we want to definitely raise the funds so we can start building our data footprint. The other good news is we need 1,000 times less computers than any technology on the planet to do this. So imagine if we wanted to bump this to 1 million concurrent users, we're talking about 400 7-year-old servers in a data center to handle 1 million concurrent users. And imagine doing that in multiple locations all over the world. We will have literally the largest networked ability to connect everyone in real time to any content built on any metaverse server. And so the goal is to build out that infrastructure. And so we are definitely looking for funding. We are looking for partners that want to build things. Maybe WordPress would be interested because not only can they start building tools for the open metaverse, but they'll fund us so we can go faster so they can make money on their endeavors. So there's lots of reasons why people would want to get involved. So if you do know anybody or have any interest, we're definitely looking for funding both for the native browser, which will be more for the open standards, and then also for RP1 as well.
I'm going to add a little bit to that and try to be brief. It's hard for companies to come in and evaluate us or get really excited, big companies, about what we're doing because in many ways it's very not obvious on what it is that we do. If someone comes in and sees our demo, they go, "Oh, you're like Roblox from 20 years ago." Or they see this as a demonstration of a closed virtual world that is kind of Horizons-like, but doesn't look nearly as good. So, once companies fully understand what we do or what the impact is to not only their business but commerce and in the way of life around the world, then people are going to really start to understand what we do and what the true value is that we bring to the planet. And the way that happens is by the people here starting to take this open standards concept and start running with it and building it. And as that spreads and grows, it's not, it'll build up. You'll be able to go to neat venues inside of RP1 and see some cool buildings that people have built and stuff like that. But when people really start to understand, wow, I could actually drive my business from this. I can drive my home from this. This changes the way we communicate. This changes the way that the internet foundationally works. Then people finally understand what it is that we're building towards. It's not about a VR world with fancy buildings and a blimp and a spaceship and some blocks that you can throw around. It's a fundamental shift in the way that the internet and the spatial internet works. It's a new way of defining the metaverse. And so without that understanding and appreciation for what we do, which frankly, I'm not even sure half the people in our company fully understand yet, but when that starts to spread around the world by people running with it and building on top of this on their own servers and their own infrastructure for their own needs, then people understand what the true value is. And I think at that point, we might get a few more companies saying, hey, let's talk about acquisitions and things like that.
Everybody's stuck in a snow globe still. They don't understand they don't understand that anything you can do in the real world, you can do in here. I recently saw a video about doctors using AR and VR to do surgeries, and once people understand that doctor doesn't necessarily have to be in the same room, although they are doing it in the same room at this time. That doctor could be in Tokyo doing a surgery in Seattle and using the robotics and the AR and VR stuff. And companies and people don't understand that yet. And that's what we need to try and get out to people, and to understand that there's no limits in here. So So thank you. Sorry.
I concur. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
We
the
don't know
physical
what this is
location
going
of
to
the
be.
company?
Wait, Greg, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What's the physical location of the company?
So, well, that's a good question. We are a remote company. We have a handful of people in Southern California, some people in Texas, and people overseas as well. So we have just under a team of 10, and we're kind of spread out. We have no true headquarters, but
No
hopefully
physical office.
we have no physical office. That's correct.
Okay.
Just like the metaverse, right, Greg?
Practice what we preach.
Any other questions?
I just want to thank you guys for everything you're doing and moving this forward. And I applaud you for all the work that you've put into this. And I look
Thank
forward
you.
to our future.
Mark, I really appreciate that. And I think one of the things that really gets to my heart is a company our size doesn't have typically the capability to move standards, to really create the future of an internet. We were on a podcast with Evan Helda from AWS, from Amazon, and he quoted that we were the most ambitious project he's ever seen in XR. And what he meant by that is he realized what we were bringing to market was way bigger than RP1. And it's hard because at first you're going to think we're trying to sell you on something, or we have a technology, or we want to get rich. But we've actually done the opposite.
I wanna
We
get
are
rich.
actually spending, we wouldn't mind making money, like all of us. But we are spending more time on building the open standards, which we can't afford. We still have to pay paychecks and really, run a company, which is really hard. I'm sure a lot of you know. And we've done that understanding that the open standards are more important than just the services that RP1 provides. And so a lot of our work has gone towards these open standards, including MVMF, which is an open API that will eventually be given to the world. And that API allows all these services, or enables these services, to seamlessly connect and be anchored in any AR location or VR location with ease. And these are the different pieces and components that are necessary to unlock everything that we described over the last hour and a half or 2 hours that we've been doing this conversation. And these things we're giving away, and that's hard when you're a private company, because you got to find a way to monetize. And this is where we're hopeful that the community will help support us and enable us to grow. We'll get volunteers that want to contribute time to the native browser, because at some point you have the ability to say, you know what, I contributed to a project that my kids will be able to interact with and have opportunities that you had growing up with the World Wide Web. And so this is a way to give back. And so if there's something that, Dean and I can look back and say, that people will look back and say, wow, the people at RP1 really helped jumpstart an open metaverse, and give the technologies and give the people ability to make money and create jobs and create things. It's the complete opposite of what AI is doing, right? And so that only happens with your support. And so, like Dean said, you guys can start building and showing off what you can build, but you can also talk about it. You can start telling people about it. If you know people that really can impact, whether it's funding or volunteer work, please show them our way and tell them about what we're doing. Because like Dean said, we joke that this demo doesn't really tell you the entire story. And I can't thank you guys enough for showing up and listening to our story, because I know your time is valuable. But if you were to walk around, you're not only going to see multiple locations, those are all running on different servers. And we have samples of these real-time services, and no matter where you're at in the world, you instantly connect to them. It's unbelievable to me, the developers that have started using MVMF, which is this API technology. They're like, how do I? It's unbelievable how I can inject a piece of software that everyone can connect to instantly without installing, while also letting it securitized and owned by that service provider. And once we build the native browser, then you will truly unlock the power of the open metaverse, where you can build any piece of software that people can use and interact with, whether in the real world or virtually. And that's going to be the point where everyone's just going to be jaw dropped, and you're going to see hundreds of millions of services built by people all over the world. And so, again, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. Dean and I are going to hang out here for a while. So if you guys want to come up to us, you're welcome to ask us questions. Some people are kind of rather ask in private. You can contact us on Discord. I'm on LinkedIn as well. You're welcome to reach out. And just be patient with us. We are a really small team. I wish we had a lot of people. I know our programmers are going to be able to spend more time on Discord now answering questions. So Gabe will be there for you and others to answer questions if you run into issues. If you have bugs, please smile. Just let us know about it, and then we'll add it to the list so we can address it as quickly as possible. There's still some things we're fine tuning on our website, our language, but we just don't have the person power to really drive all the things that we need as a company, and that's just going to have to be done slowly over time. But our goal is really to get to the native browser. That's the next big jump for everything that we're doing. So your support is greatly needed. So I just want to thank everyone again. You're welcome to hang around. If you want to go on a tour, we do have an AR demo. That AR demo is typically done privately because we haven't had the time to work it completely into the system where anyone can just use it immediately. That will be soon. But if you do want to see the AR demo, if you have an Oculus 3, I'm able to show up in your house. We have real-time services that we both can interact with in full AR mode. And I can join you in VR while you're in AR and instantly communicate and interact with those services sitting in the comfort of your house. It is so if you are a company or you are an investor, if you're just curious, please, I don't have necessarily the time. I'd love to, but I don't have the time to do it for everyone. But if you really can help move the needle for us, I'm happy to do private demos of that AR. It is absolutely jaw dropping. I mean, when I did it for the very first
It's pretty
time,
cool.
it really showed the power of AR. And so if you guys want to see it, whoever said that, I agree with you. And
Yeah.
and so eventually we will incorporate AR hopefully into this demo, and if not, definitely in the native browser. And you will literally be able to drop a piece of software and anchor it anywhere in the world, and anyone that's connected to the browser will instantly connect to it standing right at that software. And this is going to unlock dreams that we've all been thinking about an open metaverse. So you're welcome to ask any more questions. We're going to hang out here. You can go on a tour. Like I said, you're right now at RP1 Start. You can open up your menu. We have a lot of people like the Virtual World Museum. We had LA SIGGRAPH built a site. They have videos you can interact with and pictures and assets and places. We have a whole bunch of sample things in the menu you can go check out. Again, those are all running on their own spatial fabric. And so it would load just like if you were to build one of those scenes as well, identical. So imagine this is your spatial fabric. People would just come here to this location and you would get your own URL. You can give that out to the world. They click it, they will show up in your space. You're not going through a central system, and you'll instantly get the services of scale and the avatars. And again, please talk about it on LinkedIn, on your socials. Please tell people. We are going to build a consortium for the entire educational system, meaning all the universities. We already have, I think, about 40 plus universities that have already expressed that this is the most needed thing for the entire XR industry, and they want to contribute with their students, with their game plans, with their even digital twins of their own university, so they can actually build use cases for their own school. And so we're going to get that jump started very soon. And so if you are a university, please reach out. We'll add you to that. So we have so much that we're trying to take on as a small team, but hopefully a lot of you guys will raise your hands or want to take over different areas and help us out. So thank you again for showing up. Dean, you have a comment?
Yeah, I will say if this is your first or second time in here and you haven't seen a lot, the main location menu highlights about maybe a dozen places that we have scattered around that we've set up. If you can see it in our world, you could put it on your server and attach it through a Spatial Fabric attachment point. If you want to see, it's not highlighted in the main menu, but if you want to see what your demo first attachment point or your first Spatial Fabric would look like, that ships with our dev center, that took 30 minutes to install. Again, you can walk right through the RP1 sign. In about 50 meters in that direction, you will see it will appear. You can go take a look at that and just know that that's what you would by default get on your installation. But then you can replace that with anything else. And so take a tour. It's not on the menu yet because we just made it available. But if you type in Corona, spelled with a K, or Symetra, Simetra. Again, if you forget, I can just come up to me and ask me. You can go take a look at our brand new planets that we have out there that are kind of cool and kind of not, but they will evolve over time into something much more cool than they are now.
And I totally forgot. So Dean brought in OSM, which stands for OpenStreetMap Data, to
Totally.
the entire
Scott.
planet Earth. And so if you know your latitude, longitude location, you can actually go find your house, and you can actually take ownership of that house or your business location and build your own spatial fabric that attaches to that location on planet Earth. And so you can actually search for that. We have some samples at Ottawa, and you can literally search in the search menu. In fact, I can find Dean's
Yeah.
house. If I've looked up my area, obviously it's not perfect. Again, hopefully, if you're with Cesium or with Esri or all these other companies, we're hopeful that they'll bring in real world data. Again, this is massive, massive project that I believe eventually lots and lots of companies will get involved. But we haven't even touched upon all the myriad of things you can do. Someone asked me the other day, and I'll end on this. Can you tell me a use case for the open metaverse? And I looked at that person and I said, well, what is a use case for the World Wide Web? And if you want to connect with anyone in 3D or virtually or in the real world and connect to services, that's the power of the open metaverse. And it is absolutely endless, and it'll transform our lives. And so I'm so glad that you guys are here today. I hope you remember this moment. And I do believe that hopefully over the coming months, years, that you will see a progress that no roadblocks or horizons could ever accomplish, because we are uniting the entire world in building this together. And so thank you again for everything. I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot. We will have regular meetings here. We'll announce them on Discord that you can interact with us all the time, ask questions on our Discord. We will do our best to get questions right away. But today is a special day, not just for RP1, but for the open metaverse. And so I just want to thank everyone for coming. We will hang out here. If you have questions, feel free to come up to us and ask anything you want. David, do you have a question? Go for it.